All right, so if you missed 7-4 or needed a recap or are in my fourth period and did not quite get the rest of the notes because of that lovely fire alarm, I'm going over trapezoids and kites, 7-4. You have these notes gave to you in class, but obviously, if not, you can print it out. They're posted on Google Classroom. So, starting with trapezoids, in general, trapezoid is this definition: one pair of opposite sides are parallel. In general, it only really has one extra property, which is about the consecutive angles between parallel lines that are supplementary. So if you're confused by the wording of that, which is kind of weird, just remember it's basically same side interior angles. So if you remember from Unit 3, parallel lines cut by a transversal, like so, forms same side interior angles because they are on the same side of this transversal and they're both interior to these parallel lines. Yeah? So those two are going to add up to 180 here and here. They're going to add to 180. And then also you could say the same thing about this angle with this angle here. So both of those will add to 180 because of the same side interior. So that would be looking at this transversal and these parallel lines. Okay? Just be careful. Notice, guys, that this angle and this angle are not supplementary. No. No. And that's because you see my two transversals right here and here, they are not parallel. Okay? If this were a parallelogram, then everything would be parallel and it'd be happy and supplementary and great, but it's not. Oops. All right, so there we go. That's in general non-isosceles trapezoids, or you can just say trapezoids. So when we move on to isosceles trapezoids, it's just like an isosceles triangle, which, if you remember, is a triangle with two congruent legs, except it's a trapezoid with two congruent legs. So we call this one here a leg, and this one here a leg. Both of these are legs. So the non-parallel sides are the legs. Okay? And an isosceles trapezoid, they are congruent. Okay, so that's the definition. There's some facts, though. Diagonals are congruent. So you got, boom, whoops. This diagonal is congruent to this diagonal. Also, base angles are congruent. So let's talk about what that means. The base angles are obviously the ones at the bottom, so here and here. But in trapezoids, there are actually two pairs of base angles. So not only are those two at the bottom congruent, but these two at the top are congruent to each other. Okay? Make sense? Good. You don't really need to know that last property. It's not that important. You need to know the first three. Opposite angles are supplementary. I mean, it's good to know, but you can always figure that fact out just based on all the other properties we know. Okay, so those are the general properties. So let's do some examples. I had us going through the even numbers, so I'm going to do that with you. If you want to take a look at the odd and maybe just practice those on your own, I have the notes with all those answers on Google Classroom. All right, so for number 2, we'll start with that one. For number 2, we have a trapezoid. We know it's a trapezoid because of the arrows. That means parallel lines here and here. And then we have 62 degrees and 31 degrees. So starting with angle C, since B and C are same side interior angles, they are going to add to 180. So all I have to do is 180 minus 31, and that will give me 49. Oh, sorry, 149. 180 minus 31 is 149. So there's angle C. Okay? And guess what we do for angle D? The same thing. So since angle A and angle D are same side interior. They're going to add to 180. So we're going to do 180 minus 62. And that's going to be the measure of angle D, which is 118. Easy peasy, right? So, applying that fact to my algebra. Look at number 4. We have some x's in there and got to solve for x and then plug it back in. So we have angle Q right here and angle R right here. So both of these are my same side interior, right? Two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So my equation is simply going to be one angle, 12x plus 3, plus the other angle, 7x minus 13, is equal to 180 because they are same side interior, therefore they're supplementary. Okay? So then we just combine those like terms to get 19x minus 10 equals 180. Add the 10 over to get 19x is equal to 190. Divide both sides by 19 and x is 10. Then I have to plug it in to get angle R. So 7 times 10 minus 13. So 70 minus 13, which is 57 degrees. And you're done. The great thing about videos is that if I go too fast, you can stop and go back. Yay! Sorry, that was supposed to be like a happy smiley, but he ended up kind of creepy, so just gonna get rid of it. Okay, then, moving on. Number 6. This is an isosceles trapezoid. That means the legs are congruent. And that also means the base angles here and here are congruent, as well as angle T and angle U are congruent. So that's really all we have to do here. Angle T is congruent to angle U. Angle V is congruent to angle W. Okay, number 8. Again, this is an isosceles trapezoid because of my congruent marks given to me. So that means my base angles are congruent. So this is 47 as well. And that also means Z and Y are congruent to each other. So in order to figure out what Y is, we need to look at the two angles here and here, which are same side interior, so they add up to 180. What? That's crazy talk. So all we gotta do, is 180 minus 47, and that gives us our, what are we looking for again? Oh, we're looking for angle Y. And then we already got angle W is 47. Angle Y is 133. Angle Z is also 133 because those are congruent to each other. Base angles are congruent. Okay.